Asperger children. I was tempted to dispense medical advice while I had their attention, but I resisted. Aren't there any proper books for these people? I wondered. To my amazement, I discovered there was not all that much out there on the subject. There were a few scholarly works and some simpler, though still, clinical texts that made a person feel the best they could do for their Asperger child would be to buy them a mainframe computer and not worry about teaching table manners. But there was nothing that could even begin to describe my brother. I wrote about him again in an essay in my collection Magical Thinking, and more people came forward. I began toying with the idea of writing a book about him. It would be fascinating. He would love the process, and all I'd really have to do is start him talking and type really, really fast. I could keep the essay's heartwarming title, Asperger, and add the subtitle, A Memoir of My Brother. Though I enjoyed designing the cover in my head, I wasn't going to be free to write the book that went inside it anytime soon. In 2005, our father became terminally ill, and my brother became distraught, confused, and fully human. For the first time in my life, I saw him weep openly as he sat at our father's hospital bed and stroked his head. It had the outward appearance of a touching moment between father and son, but I'd never seen my brother behave like this before. People with Asperger's don't access or show feelings, certainly not to this extent. I'd never seen such an unbridled display of raw emotion. I felt conflicted. On the one hand, it was a breakthrough. On the other hand, it was a bit of an understatement to say there is a history of mental illness in our family. So I was worried that it might be less breakthrough than breakdown. After our father died, my normally animated and tail-up and activated brother was depleted and sad. He started to worry about his health and consider, perhaps for the first time, his own mortality. Not knowing what else to do, I sent him an email about our father's death with the instruction, write about it. He responded with a question. What am I supposed to write? I explained that it might release some of the sad feelings he was dealing with, and I gave him the oldest rule in writing: show, don't tell. A few days later, he sent me an essay about our father, about visiting him in the hospital as he lay dying, and the memories, most of them dark, that arose from the past. It was stunningly honest and undeniably beautifully written. I knew he had a story to tell, I thought, but where the hell did that come from? The essay went up on my website and quickly became the most popular feature. Gratifyingly, yet humblingly, about as much mail started to come in about him as about me. Will you publish more of his work online? Has he written anything else? How is your brother doing now? So in March 2006, I said to him, you should write a memoir about Asperger's, about growing up not knowing what you had. A memoir where you tell all your stories, tell everything. About 5 minutes later, he emailed me a sample chapter. Like this was the subject line of the email. Yes, like that. Once again, my brilliant brother had found a way to channel his unstoppable Asperger energy and talent. When he decided to research our family history and create a family tree, the document ended up being more than 2,000 pages long. So once the idea of writing a memoir was in his head, he dove in with an intensity that would send most people straight into a psychiatric hospital. In a very short period of time, he'd completed his manuscript. It goes without saying that I am swollen with pride over the result. Of course it's brilliant. My big brother wrote it. But even if it hadn't been created by my big, lumbering, swearing, unshaven, early man sibling, this is as sweet and funny and sad and true and heartfelt a memoir